Hello and welcome to Cheat Sheet at the World Cup, your daily bite-sized breakdown of the biggest and best stories from the 2026 tournament. We start this morning, though, with news away from the World Cup regarding Christian Eriksen, and thankfully football fans will be pleased to hear that he is on the mend and doing well after he collapsed during Denmark's friendly against Ukraine. Neither sides have qualified for this summer's tournament. David Fulton has more.
The former Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur midfielder collapsed in the 65th minute of the game after footage showed him grabbing his chest. Eriksen was then surrounded on the ground by both sets of players while Ukraine's coaching staff was seen waving medical personnel onto the field. Denmark's team doctor has provided a positive update, saying Christian is doing well and walked off the pitch by himself. As I see it, the pacemaker responded as it should. He was briefly unconscious but regained consciousness very quickly, and we were quickly in contact with him. He will now undergo further examinations at the hospital to determine what caused the incident. We are in ongoing contact with him and the doctors at the hospital. But Christian is doing well, and he asked me to send his regards to all the players and tell them that he was okay.
To England now, and with a friendly win against New Zealand under their belts, action now turns to Costa Rica on Wednesday and another warm-up match for them. Remember, Thomas Tuchel's side, of course, enter this World Cup on June the 17th when they face Croatia. And our football correspondent, Rob Dorset, is with the team out in Florida and joins me now. Hi there. Look, Rob, England have been there acclimatising for a week. Will they have got everything they wanted so far from this trip?
Well, if you talk to Thomas Tuchel, not quite, because the whole reason England wanted to come here was it's supposed to be boiling hot, really humid, and they were going to beast the players and try and make them acclimatise really quickly. We've actually seen a lot of torrential rain, which has disrupted training. There's been lightning and it's been cooler under the cloud cover, but that hot weather is to come, and I think England's players that we've spoken to have said they're acclimatising pretty well. All of the Arsenal players are now in camp, those four who were given a bit of extra time off because of the Champions League final, so they've now bolstered the squad numbers to a really high number. There's 30 of them now that Thomas Tuchel has to train with, because the four that were making up for those Arsenal guys while they weren't here, Alex Scott, Josh King, Ethan Nwaneri and Rio Ngamoa, they're staying on until after the Costa Rica game, so that's really interesting. The pitches have been interesting as well. We've spoken to the players a little bit about that. It's very different to back home. It's like dense and coarse. It doesn't really bounce as much as back home. So the England players have been adapting to that as well. And of course, they had that really hot game against New Zealand in Tampa on Saturday. Won it 1-0. Tuchel wasn't happy with the performance, though.
You mentioned the 1-0 win there over New Zealand. What do you think Thomas Tuchel will have taken from this game?
Thomas Tuchel was pretty critical after that game, and I was a little bit surprised, to be honest with you, just how negative he was. We didn't think it was that bad. I thought Jed Spence, Jordan Henderson, Marcus Rashford and Jude Bellingham all played pretty well, but no, Tuchel wasn't having it. He said that the players were too flat, too many long balls, they didn't offer enough width, almost as though they hadn't kind of listened at all to the plan that he'd given them before they went out there. I think it's pretty clear that Tuchel wants more structure from his players. And he's got very high standards. He's made it clear he wants them to win the World Cup, and he didn't think they could do that on the basis of that first performance in New Zealand. But look, it was a friendly. It was a pre-tournament friendly. They're always pretty dreadful to watch, to be honest. This was no different. But England's players got some mileage under their legs in really, really hot conditions. 35 Celsius plus it was in Tampa at kickoff. And so Tuchel and the players will hope that benefits them in the long run.
Right, so Rob, tell us, what is next then for Tuchel in England?
Those Arsenal players are now in camp. So we've got Declan Rice, who we now know is the vice-captain. We've got Eberechi Eze, we've got Bukayo Saka, and we've got Noni Madueke as well. So they'll be stepping up their training. I think they'll be working harder than the other guys in camp who've been out here for a week or so. And they're all building towards that friendly against Costa Rica on Wednesday in Orlando. Expect it to be hot there again. And Tuchel says he's going to give more of the players more game time. I mean, some will miss out. So he's organised this behind closed doors friendly against Miami United back end of this week to try and get the players that maybe haven't played as much time on the pitch in the two friendlies a bit more time to bring them up to speed with everybody else. But one thing we've been chatting about a lot, both with the people around the FA camp and outside, is what the players are doing in their downtime. Because apparently there's a bit of a battle for the TV remote control and the use of the Wi-Fi in camp. We hear that a lot of the England players are trying to get to watch Love Island. as you'd expect probably, but there's a lot of NBA fans in there as well. Morgan Rogers is probably the biggest basketball fan we know, and with the finals between the New York Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs going on, Knicks are 2-0 up at the moment, a lot of the players are enjoying that and wanting to see that, and they're moving to New York next for the third game in that series, so expect a big load of razzmatazz out in New York, where some of our other crews are on Sky Sports News, and the England players will be watching from afar down here in West Palm Beach.
Thank you very much to Rob, and plenty more from Rob throughout the tournament with England. But we now focus on Scotland. And after their emphatic win against Bolivia and their final warm-up game, the team have now landed in Charlotte. They prepare to take on Haiti on Sunday. And our man at the heart of the team is Luke Shanley.
So Scotland have arrived in Charlotte, North Carolina. Right after they touched down, they went for a training session at Charlotte FC's training facilities, the venue that Steve Clarke has selected to fine-tune ahead of that opening game against Haiti. Then they came to the hotel for the first time, and this is where Scotland will be based. It's in the city centre, so it's a bit of hustle-bustle about, no doubt about that. But I think Steve Clarke did say that when they were in Garmisch-Partenkirchen back for the Euros 2 years ago, it was maybe a bit too quiet, a bit too isolated, and of course you have to get the balance right for players. You don't want to be stuck in their hotel or somewhere really quiet all the time, and as you can see, it is quite busy here for those that are watching. So I think for Steve Clarke, he is trying to get that balance right this time around. Of course, Scotland have been learning from previous major tournaments at the Euros. Of course, the first one in 2021 was COVID hit, and then they were over in Germany, and it wasn't a great experience in the end for Scotland, so they'll want to do better this time around. So what's going to happen on Monday? Well, Scotland will go back to Charlotte FC's training facility for a training session, but this one will be open to the local community. Kids from the local school will be attending as well, so that's Scotland opening up and having that open training session. But then it gets down to the real business. We will hear from a representative of the Scotland team at the media conference as well, and we'll bring you that. So for Scotland now, it is about fine-tuning, as I said. That Haiti game is so big in terms of getting off to a winning start, which could be enough to get Scotland out of the group. And you look at what happened on Saturday in Harrison, New Jersey, where they won 4-0. That first half performance was really excellent for Scotland. And there's some decisions for Steve Clarke to make. Who does he play? Does he play two up front? Would it be Shankland and Adams after that performance at the weekend? Is it Adams and Dykes, who's played as a partnership before? Or does he think it's Dykes and Shankland potentially, who linked up well in the Curaçao game in that second half at Hampden Park? So decisions to be made. It'll probably be Angus Gunn in goal. He played the full 90 minutes against Bolivia. Of course, none of the goalkeepers have had a lot of game time for their clubs this season, but there are issues across the pitch. But he said it's good problems that he's got, Steve Clarke. So that is encouraging for Scotland. The competition for places, players now maybe hitting form at the right time. Shea Adams with 2 goals. That was fantastic against Bolivia because he'd maybe struggled for goals of late. He did score in the Turin derby for Torino against Juventus in the final weekend of Serie A. Lawrence Shankland, we know, has been on farm for Hearts of Midlothian. He's now signed up with Rangers and he's scored 3 goals in his last 2 games. So more to come from Charlotte, North Carolina, as Scotland build up for that first game later in the week against Haiti.
Thanks, Luke. Yes, lots more to come from him as Scotland's first game of this tournament nears ever closer. Now, we've heard about ticket prices at the World Cup, but just how much would the hottest ticket set you back? We've been exploring, and our chief correspondent, Kaveh Solikol, is out in New York and has been taking a closer look.
Money talks, and you need a lot of it if you're planning on attending a game at the World Cup here this summer. The hottest tickets in town are for games featuring Mexico, Portugal and Brazil. According to the website Ticket Data, the average get-in price for a Mexico group game, most expensive in the World Cup group stages, is £1,500. In second place, it's Portugal, Cristiano Ronaldo, on £1,135, and in third place it is Brazil, just over £1,000, the average get-in price if you want to see Carlo Ancelotti's side. Scotland are actually the 5th most expensive. The average get-in price for them is £800. I think that is because they're in a group with Brazil. And England, well, they are in 13th place, £587 on average if you want to go and watch one of their games. Of course, FIFA justify these extraordinary prices by saying they're a not-for-profit organisation and all the money they make goes back into the game. But my response to that is, why not charge a fair price? Why are you charging what you can get away with? No wonder the Attorney Generals of New Jersey and New York have launched an investigation into FIFA's ticketing policy. Unfortunately, for the millions of fans who've had to dig deep to pay for tickets for this tournament, any action the Attorney Generals take will of course be too late for them. Now, FIFA also justifies these prices by saying the US is a very mature market when it comes to ticketing for big sporting occasions. Well, I can understand what they're saying, but surely even Gianni Infantino wouldn't be able to claim with a straight face that a game, for instance, featuring Curacao or Cape Verde can be mentioned in the same breath as the Super Bowl or the NBA Finals. Speaking of which, it's Game 3 of the NBA Finals here on Monday night between the New York Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs at Madison Square Garden. President Donald Trump is due to attend. Of course, he won't be paying for his own ticket, but if he was, it would cost him between $8,000 and $100,000.
Ooh, absolutely eye-watering, isn't it? And if you can't be there for the tournament and that opening game between co-host Mexico taking on South Africa, well, you can follow everything right here. Tune in to Sky Sports News every single day. You've got the website and the app, but of course this podcast as well will take you to the heart of the tournament. And if you don't already, of course, give Cheat Sheet at the World Cup a follow wherever you listen to your podcast, because every episode will be delivered every single morning straight to you in a bite-sized form. And you can, of course, watch us on Sky TV as well and find us on YouTube. We'll talk to you tomorrow.